powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you today by our friends at the Gallery Bar, Book, and Games at Ocean Casino Resort. This football season, cheers your favorite drinks while you cheer on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery and Ocean Casino Resort. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Our qualifiers this hour for 99 bottles, John in EHT and Chris in EHT. Congratulations to you. Right now, Adam Caplan is here to talk a little bit about the first time all year, Adam, a Eagles loss as the Eagles lose to the Commanders, and everybody's got opinions as to why. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Mike. Good to be with you. Yeah, look, it was, I don't want to say surprising. I thought it'd be a lot closer than most people. In fact, I was driving home from our post-game show, or actually our pregame show last night from Rivers Casino. Me, Trey Thomas, and Jeff, and Jason Avant. It's like, this thing's going to be less than 10 points. I feel like Washington really impressed me with their game against Minnesota. But what's funny about the Minnesota game, Mike, is they could not run the ball to save their life. They struggled on third down. Where this game, they were incredible in the first half. But what they did is they had some gadget plays in a game against Minnesota. They had a couple plays that helped them get back in it. But their base run game struggled last week. But this game, Mike, had nothing to do with average per carry. They had 17 runs, Mike, of 4 yards or more. That can't happen. That's why the Eagles in the first half could not get off on third down. And the other problem was, where was the pass defense? That's the other part of this. To me, this was a complete defensive meltdown. The numbers may not show it, but if you actually grade the game play by play, this is a meltdown.
Yeah, I mean, last night, Nick Sirianni said, I thought it was interesting. He said, second half, I thought the coaches did a nice job of adjusting. We held them to 3 points. I thought the defense, hats off to our defensive coaches, making the adjustments. So he's suggesting they did make adjustments. What in that, like, they only gave up 3 points in the second half, but you're saying it was a meltdown defensively. So kind of break down, what were they not doing? What kind of changes could they have made that would have been a difference maker?
Well, the first half, Mike, when it really mattered, so they wouldn't fall far behind, they struggled. Gap integrity. We've talked about this in Inside the Birds. We keep talking to people who grade the Eagles tape, and they say the same thing, and they don't agree on everything. But these people told us that, Hargrave and Cox continue to try to get up the field, and it leaves gaps. And the linebackers are smaller. They can't. It's hard for them to take on these run plays, and that's why these plays, it should be 0, 1, or 2 yards, or 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And there were 17 runs, Mike, in this game of 4 yards or more. That cannot happen. And Brian Robinson, look, it's a shame what happened to him. He's not explosive in any way. Antonio Gibson lost his job because he struggled so badly in training camp around the football. This can't happen. And you knew coming in that Washington had two choices. They either spread the Eagles out because Avonte Maddox went on IR. He wasn't playing anyway. And they had Jahan Dotson come for this game. He had a nice 15-yard catch. The other catch he pushed off, that called back. But Logan Thomas was healthy for this game finally. They could spread the Eagles out, or they could just go with heavy 12 personnel, which they did, try to run it down the Eagles' throats, which they did. Again, when you say, oh, well, they only gave up certain yards per carry, folks, you really got to be better than that. You got to examine play by play how tough it was for them to get off the field on third down. It was embarrassing in the first half. We had not seen anything like this before. Like, you could talk about what happened against Houston, who had a better running back, but in the second half, they more or less shut them down when they needed to. Their defense adjusted, and by the way, the halftime adjustment stuff is kind of nonsense. As one person, a league source, told me today, who was kind of funny because I guess this guy looks at Twitter. He goes, folks, he's like saying to me, he's like, what people need to understand is you have the Microsoft Surfaces. Adjustments are being made play by play by the coaches and the players. They don't wait till halftime. Let's just wait till halftime to make adjustments. It's complete nonsense. You got to kill these media narratives that are just not true, Mike. It's the failure of the defensive staff to get these guys to crash the run. Cox and Hargrave are particularly Hargrave, who's been a great pass rusher the last 3 weeks. he's a smaller guy. He did play in a 2-gap defense with Pittsburgh, but he's being asked to do different things here, and it's just not working out against the run. And boy, Jonathan Taylor finally got it going. He's over his ankle injury and had a great game against the Raiders last week.
Yeah, and I guess one of the questions, Adam, is, okay, they can make adjustments, do other things, but is the personnel that they have built to be a run-stopping defense? Like, if they could have made some changes, would that have mattered with their personnel? I guess that's the question.
Yes, they could have done it, and yes, it would have mattered. They could have, it's funny you bring this up. Actually, we're going to spend a healthy segment on tomorrow's Inside the Birds on this, because we looked deep and we took a deep dive. Jeff and I have been talking about this on our show lately and privately, and a couple of people in the league put us on this actually first. They're more or less running a lot of what Vic Fangio ran throughout the 90s and 2000s, wherever he was. And it's rare for him to have pass rushing defensive linemen from the interior. They're almost always run guys. This is the first time this defense that I can remember, talking to anyone who's worked in it, that the interior linemen are not run guys. That's just the way it is. Now, Jordan Davis being hurt, okay. Look, I don't care how bad his stamina was. He can only play a certain amount of snaps, and that's fine. It's definitely true. But whenever he played, he's a big body at 350, 360. They absolutely could use him. If you could get 5 plays a game from him that blow up the run, that's better than what they're getting, Mike. That's why he's important to the run defense.
Yeah, you take a look at Tui Peloto last night. I mean, they're trying to use Marvin Williams. Those guys played about 75 snaps between the two of them last night. They might have to figure out something different. And if you do something different, you play a third linebacker. What is the difference?
No.
If you're going to take Tui Peloto or Marvin Williams off, who goes on to try to help out against the run?
Yeah, it's really not that, Mike. I'll give you a little nugget. I was saving for tomorrow, but I'll give you something. So what they did in the second half, based on someone who graded Eagles tape already, told me that they started adjusting the front, moving the front a little bit. It made it harder because Robinson is a grinder. So is Antonio Gibson. They're not explosive in any way. And, these 4, 5, and 6 yard carries and 7 yard carries became 2 and 3 yards. So they were doing better with it, but it should not have taken that long for Gannon to adjust. He's had a good year. I know the fans can't stand the guy, but I'm I call it down the middle. He's actually done a good job this season. But this was not a good game for him. And the other thing is, we don't know what the conversations are. We just know what the tape looks like.
Yeah.
Because the tape tells you the truth. It can't really be challenged. You could ask, as you are, which are great questions, okay, why is this happening? I don't know how they're being taught. I just know what our sources tell us about what the tape looks like. And the early intel that we got, it took them way too long to adjust. And that's why they got gashed on these 4, 5, 6, 7 yard carries. And obviously, when you have short yardage carries, that lowers your average per carry, folks. And people need to understand that as well.
Offensively, they turned the ball over, really 3. The last play of the game, they're throwing it all over the place like a hot potato. But they turned the ball over 4 times in total. They really had no identity last night. What was going on? They had multiple 3-and-outs. So when you look at the turnovers and the inability to get into a rhythm, what did you see from the game plan offensively?
Well, no, actually, you remember they went up. It was weird. Like the first quarter, there was so much scoring. It was kind of surprising. I did not expect this much scoring last night, quite frankly, because the weather was nice. There was no wind at all. It was mid-30s, but it was good passing weather. The Eagles scored so quickly, scoring those 14 points, and they moved the ball well. They actually, when they ran it, another thing is, I know people are up in arms. They didn't run enough. They also only had the ball for 6 minutes in the first half.
Yeah.
But no, they scored so quickly. No, Mike, their offense was not the problem at all. Now, did they have some 3-and-outs? Yes, but they also scored. They went down and scored very quickly, where I thought, okay, this is the game. The game is going to be kind of like a lot of us thought maybe a week ago. But the more I looked into it, I was concerned about certain things. The Washington front's very good, very underrated. They're playing with much more discipline. But I thought Washington really settled down after the Eagles' fast start, where I go, wow, the Eagles scored 14 points in the first quarter. What's going on here? Maybe they'll score another 14 or 21 like they do in every second quarter. Mm-hmm. But no, they shut them out. In fact, the Eagles did not score until the fourth quarter. What happened, Mike, is obviously the Goddard fumble, okay? What can you do? Which should not have been a fumble because he got injured. We'll talk about that in a minute. That fumble, which was the face mask play, The bomb to Dez downfield. Great call, great catch. He's got to know. Quez has got to know that you can't, when you get up, you got to secure the football. Goddard was in line blocker quite a bit, so that's why his numbers were down a little bit. And A.J. Brown, here's another thing, Mike. A.J. Brown, I give him credit for finishing the game. That pass people are killing him for that wound up being picked off. That I don't know if he had a clear path to see it. He can only answer that, but that was we saw the replay. Yes, it went through the hands. He got shielded. That's a tough catch, but he might say he should have had it. That's fine.
Yeah, that was if he would have made the catch, it would have been it was a great throw to put it there, but right. I think you're right. I don't think he saw that it was there.
Right. I don't know. He had a clear vision, but we're still talking to people to figure out some of the things that happen in offense. But I think when he turned his foot or ankle, we don't. By the way, tomorrow we'll know. They have to list it. Their first injury report for Sunday has to be tomorrow by 4 p.m. Eastern. So they'll have to list what it is. I'd be shocked if he's not on the injury report.
Yeah. Well, it appeared that the rest of the game he was just a non-factor.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people think he was a decoy. Okay, whatever. But I give him credit for toughing it out. But that killed him. Yes. So if you want to know what happened, he just couldn't run, and then Goddard got hurt, and Devontae Smith had a nice game. They missed on a shot play to him. A.J. Brown was obviously not himself, and we continue to talk about this. They get nothing out of the running, or next to nothing out of the running backs in the screen game. In years past, they did. I don't know why this is not happening, and that was pretty much it.
Adam Caplan, football at 4. All right, so special teams. We keep saying special teams is a problem. It hasn't been a problem enough to cost them a game, but what role did it have in last night's game?
Well, Mike, I know a lot of people are not talking about this, but this is actually could have been major. First of all, they give up a 40-yard play to start the game, and thankfully for the Eagles, there was a penalty on Washington. So, look, their coverage units have been a disappointment. I don't care what Sirianni talks about. It's the rankings are one thing. It's they're 1 or 2 bad plays a game. This shouldn't be happening. That's the problem. Everybody, when people cover up stuff, they look for anything they can latch onto to cover up the truth. That's just the way people are when they don't want to admit the truth. So I get that. Sirianni's covering for his coaches. That's what good coaches do. I get that. Andy Reid did the same thing. But the special teams, everybody sees it. The fans are too smart now. They see it. They have to be better. The only thing that's good right now with Eagles is Jake Elliott. And then he missed the 51-yarder, but that's obviously a low percentage kick against Houston last week. But he's been very good. But the punter's below average. The units are poor. And here's the other thing. People want to beat up Britton Covey. When is the last time he got a lot of room to return a kick or punt? It's another issue.
Yeah. No, and look, their return game hasn't been good regardless of who's been back there. Covey, years prior, too. So they've had a lot of problems in the return game for the last couple of years here. I got to get your take, too. I mean, I'm not the kind of person that says, the refs cost you a game. So I don't want to say that. But the officiating, you mentioned the Goddard play. Now he's hurt. We'll get to that in a little bit. But that was a clear thing there. To me, it's more just the legislation of them. Like, why, if you can watch the replay, can you not say, okay, in the replay we saw something we didn't see initially and fix that?
I have a new it's funny you mentioned this because I actually talked to someone from an NFL team today who saw that. And we both talked about it. And I told Moshe we're going to bring this up on our show tomorrow. Part of your challenges, your replay challenges should be you should be able to challenge like 2 flags a game. I'm sorry, a missed call. Okay? This is not a catch, no catch. This is simply an egregious face mask. This can't happen. I understand it's bang, bang. This is real time. Sometimes refs can't see it, but that's what instant replay is. Yeah. Bill Belichick, he'll never get past. He wants to be able to challenge every flag.
Well, I don't have a problem with them saying we didn't see it. But once you had to watch the replay to overturn the touchdown, at that point, that should be entered into evidence of, okay, I also missed that, and let's factor that in now.
Expand replay. Yeah. No, Mike, you're absolutely right. You set it up very well where you said that this didn't cost them the game. Of course it didn't cost them the game. They had so many problems on defense versus the run versus the pass. Inexcusable. The tape will tell them the truth. The players, we said this every Detroit game. They'll be embarrassed by it. They were motivated the next week. if this doesn't shoot them straight, this tape, I don't know what would. But look, but the good thing is they're 8-1, but they've got a lot of injuries, and it's going to be hard. The Goddard, I don't think people understand. I think they have a general idea how good Goddard is, but from a pure football standpoint, he's irreplaceable.
Yeah. Before we get to that, I just, the Brandon Graham thing. Does the league, are they okay with that call, or is that something that, like, it's obvious the guy gives himself up. Okay, Graham is coming full-fledged. This is like a train seeing someone on the track and then hitting the brakes. The train's still going to keep sliding. The impact was minimal. He obviously was not trying to intend to injure the quarterback, but there was a small collision. Does the league still do they like that, or should that be something to say, hey, listen, in a situation where you see a quarterback, throw the flag, and then let's take a look at it to see what the intent was?
All right, it's funny you mentioned intent. So Mike Pereira, you know him. He works for is he still with Fox? I think he's still doing Fox.
Yeah, he's Fox.
All right, so I got to know Mike when I worked for FoxSports.com, and I know Mike over the years, and it's amazing you said intent, because his term was, it's not our job to legislate intent. We don't have time to, and they don't want the officials to determine what the guy was trying to do. You have to just call it by the book.
But when it comes to safety, and they're trying to be safe, sometimes they're over safe.
I know, but here's the problem. The quarterbacks are going to be protected. Players are going to be protected. And Heineke had to be protected. It's a shame because BG, you're absolutely right. He wasn't trying to do that. And whether his momentum took him to do that or not is not up to the judge, the rule of the law. They have to evaluate it. What did the player do? Okay, he hit him after he gave himself up. He didn't tap him. And that's the key. It's unfortunate. The rule was correct. The flag was correct. There's no. I agree. It pissed fans off. The rule is what it is.
Yeah, I just moving forward to the league, say, listen, I want you to throw the flag. Safety has to be first, but we should also then say, hey, listen, let's go back and look real fast. The guy slides. He doesn't try to hit him. It's just a collision. The head was kind of inconsequential.
Mike, then you're going to have to expand replay again. Yep. You're driving up a slippery slope here. You would have to change what could be challenged or what's not, or what you can go back and look at. It's all fair. I wish the competition committee would look at this, because, again, I don't want to blame they had so many mistakes in this game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We don't have an outer list 30 things they did wrong.
No, but
really, there's a lot of stuff which you guys don't know about. We kind of learned this morning. We're like, man, was it that bad? Because you can't tell off TV. Some of it you can, but a lot of it you can't. But they've got a lot of problems. They're still a very good football team. We're critical today of an 8-1 football team. They're still one of the top three, but they are no longer our number one team at InsideTheBirds.com.
Well, and one of the things we haven't talked about a lot all year, Adam, we haven't had to, is injuries. Now they got a bunch. Dallas Goedert, what do they do? How do they move forward without him? What's the plan there? You got Maddox out. You got Davis out. You possibly have A.J. Brown, Josh Sweat. So this is the first week, Adam, where we're talking about multiple injuries to key guys.
Yeah, we don't know exactly. I give Sweat credit for coming back late, whether it's a knee or leg injury. We give him credit for coming back. So we'll see how they list him. But the fact that he came back would seem like at worst he should be limited this week. But we'll see. We've been fooled before by guys who come back to play, then they're out for a while. So that does happen around the league. But more often than not, it's just day to day, and he may not practice very much. That to me would be the best case scenario, but we'll find out tomorrow. With Goddard, I know what everyone else knows. What I don't know, and I asked, and I haven't got a response yet, is whether it's a dislocation of his shoulder or it's a separation. Because it's a separation, he could play in 2 to 3 weeks, even if it's a grade 2, because you could just harness that up. If it's dislocation, it's going to be longer. The hope here is that you avoid surgery and avoid IR. I don't know that right now. We don't know if he's going to avoid IR. Unfortunately, now in week 11. So Maddox was put on, by the way, that counts last night because he's put on IR before the game. That counts as week 10. Maddox with his hamstring strain. Boy, that we'd said on our show we were hearing it was not just 1 week. We didn't know it would be 4 weeks or more. Wow. That surprised me when they announced that. I don't know if they knew that, because I think if they would have known that, I don't know. Maybe they would have signed a veteran slot corner, because they need depth at the slot corner position right now. They don't have it, because we're told Mario Goodrich was elevated off the practice squad as more of an outside corner.
Adam Caplan, InsideTheBirds.com, the Inside the Birds podcast and pregame show. Plenty Isn't it more fun to do this job when the team loses that you cover?
I cover 32 teams, but because of what Jeff and I do with our company, it's actually, we try to be because we call everything down the middle, but it's obviously good for our business, Mike. To be honest with you, I told someone in the Eagles front offices because someone called me out one time with being very negative. Someone who works for the Eagles over the years called me one time, said, "Man, why are you so negative?" I'm like, "Well, you guys aren't very good." What do you want me to lie?
Yeah.
I can't lie, but it's very good for our business.
Yeah.
This is a good subject. When the Eagles are good, the farther the Eagles go is good for our business.
By the way, Adam Caplan,
you too.
Yeah. Listen, I said when they win, no one complains. When they're losing, everybody's complaining at me, and
they want analysis.
Yeah. By the way, I was thinking of you today. Will Inside the Birds be in Arizona, Glendale, for the Super Bowl this year?
Okay, so I will definitely be, because I've been to every Super Bowl since 2002. We can't be at the game because we have to, due to our contract with Rivers, we have to.
Gotcha.
We actually checked into this already. We'd have to be there on Super Bowl Sunday to do our show here. So, yes, we would definitely we would get space on Radio Row. And Mike, you and I lived it in 2017. How bad this was in the Mall of America, in the food court.
Yeah.
Was that like the biggest joke ever?
It was wild, but it's funny you say that because I was doing the research last night. I was looking at airfare, and right now, if you book stuff, it's pretty cheap, by the way.
I heard you talking about that. Yeah, I heard you talk about that. In fact, the flights, although I like your ad for American AA, I'm going to check in that. I've never flown out of Atlantic City Airport.
Oh, ask Mosher. Mosher did it.
Okay. I'll check it, but I only take nonstop, so that's the thing. I'm not taking 2 planes to get to Arizona, because here's the problem. When you take a connection, let's say it's Chicago, you could hit snow, or Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. And you're asking for it with the airline industry right now for delays and stuff. But no, we will definitely be there. We'll figure out a way to make it work, because you never know. And this division, by the way, just like the AFC East, which is all of a sudden very competitive, this NFC East, all of a sudden with Eagles loss, is super competitive.
Adam Caplan's back on Friday. Eagles-Colts, a very interesting game all of a sudden. Adam Caplan, thanks, buddy.
Thank you.